I wasn't going to make this video, but when I get pissed off with something, I feel the need to express it somewhere. If it does anything, if it spreads knowledge, if it spreads awareness, that's probably a good thing. Although probably most of the people that are watching this, I would like to think, would agree with me anyway, but if it raises awareness, that's probably a good thing. Yeah, so I've been watching a video from a website called Shanghaiist. It's basically quirky stories from around China. I'm not sure if it's written by Westerners or Chinese, but it's an English language website that just details lots of unusual stories around China. It's sometimes accused of being anti-China, and probably a lot of its reports are negative, but it also throws in cultural things and quirky things. So anyway, this story is about an incident that happened in Nanjing, I think in a shopping centre. Basically a woman pushed into a queue a teacher. That's not unusual in China, it's very common unfortunately, because manners is a big problem there. I know from experience, well, manners are almost non-existent in China. Anyway, a woman behind her took issue with this and told her she was pushing in. So basically this should have been a relatively trivial matter. But the woman who pushed in then went and got her husband and 3 more blokes to come and confront this woman who had a young son, as I understand it, with her. Anyway, these thugs basically laid into the woman. It wasn't just a case of verbal bullying, they basically laid into her to the point where she had to be taken to hospital. It's bad enough one man doing this, but to have 4? There's a video as well, I'll put a link to this, and of course people were standing around and doing nothing. And I do think this is a big problem in China. I know people will say, well, this sort of problem exists all over the world, and that's true, it does. But I think China does have a problem with apathy, or at least selfish behaviour insofar as people don't do anything to help out. And again, you might say, well, that could be seen elsewhere as well, but I do think it's a particular problem in China. And I think there really needs to be some social changes. Actually, I know that for a fact because I had a lengthy debate with someone who is actually a member of the Communist Party. She even agreed this is a problem. I'm not talking about domestic violence specifically, but, well, in this case it wasn't domestic violence, but she even admitted there are some social problems in China that need to be addressed. I'm not even blaming the Communist Party for this. I believe this is more of a problem with attitudes, although maybe communism is partly to blame for creating a selfish mentality, I don't know. But it sickens me, A, that the incident would happen in the first place, B, that no one defends her. I mean, 4 cards picking on a woman on her own, and the other woman, well, basically these guys were arrested, I'm pleased to say, but the woman wasn't arrested. She should have been, but she provoked it. She encouraged them to do that, to gang up on this other woman. I don't understand men like this. I really don't. And I hate men like that, quite frankly. I think they're the scum of the earth. Guys that would pick on a woman, a defenseless woman on her own with a young son. I mean, really, what sort of person is that? And no, I'm not saying women using violence is any better, but, you know, it's... If you're the sort of person who picks on someone more vulnerable than yourself, then you're a piece of shit, as far as I'm concerned. And it is something that bothers me. I mean, if I sort of think of myself in this position, if I had a Chinese girlfriend there, and these sort of guys confronted her, what would the situation amount to? I think it would be a very difficult situation, because my male instinct, my values would be to protect her, but then of course I'd be the foreigner causing trouble in China, and this is something that China really needs to address. Every society needs to address it. Violence against women, in my opinion, is utterly abhorrent. Public assaults on anyone is abhorrent, and you know, I'm not inconsistent with this. I've condemned women as well. But I do think there are a lot of cowardly little men in China who think they can use violence against women and get away with it, and the sad reality is, in many cases they can. Now, yes, it's good that they were arrested, but I'd like to know what the punishment is. I don't think it's going to be, based on cases I've heard before, it's certainly not strong enough to send out a strong public message. There are a lot of Chinese men who basically think that it's okay, that it's acceptable. Um, yes, you get it in other societies, but at least in other societies, there's more of a taboo around it, as there should be. Um, I mean, it should be a controversial thing, that sort of bullying someone who cannot defend himself. And this applies to anyone. I would be saying the same thing if they were picking on an old man. It's disgusting. Utterly disgusting. And these punks just need to be, no offense to punks. Ah. So what I'm saying here is that this is a problem, and I think there needs to be much tougher legislation in China to send out a strong deterrent, and there needs to be public awareness campaigns as well. I'm sure there are, but there needs to be more of it. So I hope these guys get jail terms, because this is disgusting, and I think it's a pity the woman wasn't charged as well, because she provoked the incident. The point about this is, though, it isn't an isolated incident. I wouldn't be making a video if I thought this was an isolated incident. It just so happens that this incident was caught on camera because it was in a shopping centre. But this is a very widespread problem in China. It's a widespread problem around the world. And as a man, I have no tolerance for men who do this. I really don't. And I have to say, I wouldn't trust myself in a situation if a so-called man was hurting a woman I care about, whether it be my girlfriend or a friend, or I wouldn't trust myself not to blow my fuse, because I really hate scumbags like that. And it's sad that there are people like that in this world who